Good morning, gang. I hope everyone is doing well. Happy Tuesday. It's the 1st of July. 1st of July. Wow. This year is going absolutely rapid, as probably you guys will agree. But it's not stopping us. We are still on the charts. We are still active inside of the market. So, as always, this is your daily market outlook. What I am going to do is I'm going to cover your major pairs and give you my analysis and obviously what I am looking at for today. But before obviously going into that, I want you to understand that this content on the channel is not, information. It's only for informational and educational purposes only. I am not, and this is not a financial, financial advisor or financial platform. And nothing shared in my videos should be considered financial or investment advice. Trading and investing obviously always involves risk, and you should always conduct your own research before making any financial decisions. And obviously understand that any past performances discussed does not guarantee any future results. You are always responsible for your financial decisions. So, with that out of the way, let me just remove this, and then we can get straight into the meat and gravy, as we say over in Manchester. So, let's get straight into the charts. I'm just going to move this out of the way. So this is there, move that there. But yeah, welcome. I am Liam. If you're new to this channel, make sure you guys are subscribed and you got the notification button turned on. I'm here giving free value to, you guys so that you understand what I am looking at as someone who has maybe some more experience inside of the markets than you guys. So obviously, if you want to stay connected, first and foremost, if you go to my YouTube, go to the bio, click on this, and you'll be able to see that we've got, my free Telegram group and then my only Instagram as well. And if you want to work on a one-to-one basis, you like the style of trading, you like the way that I approach the markets, then you just want to fill out this form and I'll be able to help you get set up. So before we get into the markets, first thing we're going to cover is obviously the news and what is going on today. So as you guys can see, we've got pretty much nothing up until Euro at 11 a.m., which is on the orange folder news. And then we've got some red folder news around 3:30. So Great British Pound, Japanese yen, and the US dollar at 3:30. And then we've also got the US dollar red folder news at 4 p.m. as well, as you guys can see on here and on here. So again, that is my time. So it'll be 2:30 UK and 3 o'clock UK, which we have some news. So going into, I think it is Thursday this week, we have NFP, yet non-farm employment change. So again, NFP is on Thursday, usually it is on Fridays, but it's on Thursday this week. So I think everything is building up basically for NFP on Thursday. So before we get into the charts and analyzing, what is going on today, we're just going to talk about a little review from yesterday's analysis. If you guys jumped on, yesterday's, you'll be able to notice exactly what I'm talking about. And as we're going into it, yesterday we talked about the dollar reaching this 1 hour supply zone and then obviously melting away. We didn't quite get this, but we talked about the imbalance which was here. So as you guys can see, what the market has done is it's filled in the imbalance that we had left here, took out the highs which we talked about, and then it's obviously now melted away. So, perfect reaction from the dollar, which we talked about, which leads me on to the pairs. So yesterday we talked about Euro USD, which I personally caught on here. We talked about this 1 hour demand area and an imbalance below this. If you go back to YouTube, you'll be able to see the video from yesterday. Obviously we talked about this yesterday morning before it happened. And as you can see, we created them lows, as I told you guys about. We was in this demand area. And I specifically said, look, I'm not interested in this demand area because we have imbalance below here. And then we have this 1 hour demand candle. We could have, put this up into here, which is what happened. But this imbalance in this demand candle was exactly what I was looking for. And as you guys can see, what happened was the market obviously came straight into that imbalance and then obviously flew straight up from there. It did around a 1 to 4.5, was it? Yeah, 4.5. As you guys can see, so a beauty of a trade with Euro USD. We'll cover that in a second. GP USD as well, just missed entry. If you guys remember, what we were talking about yesterday was, it coming into this demand, but also at the same time we were saying I'm not interested in this area simply because the dollar was nowhere near this supply and this imbalance. So we talked about not taking, well, myself not taking a trade idea from here, but what I said is we could bounce, take out these lows, fill in this imbalance, which is the red box, and then tap into this 1 hour demand. Now, as you guys can see, we actually did tap into that imbalance, which is this red zone. I'm going to delete that now, but we failed to come into this 1 hour demand area. So we're very close, but as you guys can see, tapped into that imbalance, and then we absolutely flew. So that is that for GBP USD. USD CAD, again, literally just missed my supply. We talked about this area of supply yesterday, and we also had this imbalance which was created. So I wanted to basically see the market. Come up, take this high, and then obviously we created this out with it to take this high, tap into this supply, and then move away. So as you guys can see, we didn't quite get that tap into the supply zone, but what we did get was a fill of that imbalance pretty much, and then we melted away. And I think, yeah, it was around a 1 to 5 almost. Yeah, currently near a 1 to 5, which is insane. So yeah, man, very, very close. Obviously not quite there. USD CHF, I know that some people call this beauty as well. It's currently doing or done a 1 to 8.45, which is insane. Again, pretty simple textbook. We talked about this supply area. As you guys can see, we come down, tapped into that supply, took out the high as well, and then we melted away. So beauty of a trade, which was talked about on that session yesterday. And then same scenario here for USD Japanese yen. We have the imbalance just here, which is the red. And then we have this 1 hour supply zone here as well. Very simple. This was our range, 1 hour high, lower high, 1 hour lower low. We obviously broke this, we've broken down, failed to create this, break this low. We then come back up to tap into the supply, and then we've now melted away, which is currently at a 1 to 5 almost as well. So again, amazing day yesterday, amazing trades. Going into today, of course, we need to analyze what is going on and what we can expect. So again, dollar currently right now is just absolutely melting away. As you guys can currently see, it is literally just melting. So, let's start off firstly looking at what the 4 hour is doing. And if you guys obviously remember, we were talking specifically on this range that was happening. Now we've had that movement away. The 4 hour range that I'm talking about currently is from this lower high here to currently this lower low, which we are at. So as of right now, this supply zone here is where I'd like to see the market come into. We also have this imbalance, which needs to be refilled. Do I think that is something that I need to consider right now? No, because we're nowhere near there. We're nowhere near there right now. What we'd have to consider is probably a 1 hour change of trend before getting into this 4 hour supply. But understand that that is my 4 hour range as of right now. So if we was to, come to this 4 hour range, this would be where I'd expect the market to, obviously carry on downwards from. So that is for the 4 hour. Now looking at the 1 hour, what can we see? Looking at the 1 hour, what can we see? Well, if we focus on the trend that's going on, just give me 1 second whilst I let the dog out. If we focus on the 1 hour trend and what's going on currently, what we can see is we've got a new range. So if you focus on this, we're creating them lower lows, filled up lower high, come back down to create that lower low, lower high, and now we've created that new lower low. So, we have that range that's going on from this high here, which is our 1 hour lower high. I'm gonna make that dashed. And then this is the exact same low. So our 1 hour range is from here. So what I'd probably expect the market to, I'm just going to quickly look at the lower time frames and see what's going on and see if everything has been mitigated. Yeah, everything has been mitigated here. So for me personally, looking at the 1 hour, where would I want to see the market come into? Well, I'd want to see the market come into this area here. This would be my 1 hour supply candle. This is where I expect the market to come into next. So if we can, what I'm expecting the market to potentially do is come back up and then move away from here. So again, this is my range that I'm focused on as we speak. That is my next zone. Also understand that we could potentially, if it does come all the way up, take out these highs here, use these as liquidity, and then obviously have that move down. So that is what I'm expecting for the dollar going into today. So pretty easy to understand, hopefully for you guys, which then leads me on to Euro USD. So Euro USD, let's start off on a daily time frame. What can we see? Extremely bullish, as we can expect if the dollar's extremely bearish. Extremely bullish, extremely bullish, should we say. We still have some imbalance to refill, but right now, we don't need to worry about that. If we drop to the 4, what can we see going on? Well, pretty simple to understand. We've got a new 4-hour range. So let's just get rid of this for now, because that was from yesterday. But you can see that we've got that new 4-hour range from this area here. I'm going to make this black actually. I'm going to move this to here, to this high currently. So, me, what would I be looking at as we speak? What I'd be looking at is, can we see this 4-hour demand area met? We've got all this imbalance here, all of this imbalance left here. So, can we see that market retracement from a 4-hour perspective down into this, and then that be the next leg up? That's what I want to see from a 4-hour. Now, from a 1-hour, what is going on currently? So from a 1-hour, can we see anything different? Well, what we can see currently is the market is still trending inside of that 1-hour as of right now. So we're reacting from this level of demand here. This level of 1-hour demand here is where, let me just get this big red box, is where we're currently reacting from. So of course, what we could expect to see is if the dollar is going to, let's just go back to the dollar. If the dollar is going to obviously have a retracement into this, which is what we expect, we've got to expect a further retracement down as well. So could we, come back down, bounce into this again, maybe take out this low, or come into some sort of lower time frame imbalance and then see this, if that is what the dollar is going to do here. If not, and we get a deeper retracement, then of course I would like to see the market come deeper into this zone to carry on upwards into this 4-hour. So that is what I've got for Euro USD. Let's keep an eye out on that today. Great British Pound against the US dollar. As you guys can see, the daily time frame extremely bullish as we can expect, and that leads me to the 4-hour time frame, which we've been talking about the GBP USD being just a little bit uglier than Euro USD, which it has been. Of course, we've reacted now from this level of imbalance here, which I'm just going to mark out again. 1 second, I'm going to mark out that imbalance here, just so that we can see. Obviously, this is unmitigated. So from a 4-hour, you can probably notice that, of course, let me just give it that. Of course, we've got a new range pretty much. We've had this high broken here. So from a 4-hour perspective, we have a new 4-hour range, and that 4-hour range will be from this low to this current high. So if you look at this area right now, it is pretty much mitigated. So there's nothing really that I can expect the market to come back into and have a look at. But if we look at a 1-hour perspective, you can see that this level of leg is all pretty clear. There's not any imbalance at all. They have tiny bits of imbalance here and tiny little bits here, but everything is pretty much rebalanced. If we focus on the 1-hour time frame, what is going on currently? Well, what is going on is you can see that the market had this range here. We then broke, tried to break above. We then tapped into where? We tapped into this last, candle, and now we've had this moving up. So if you're looking at the perspective of the GBP USD, we can notice that our range that we need to keep an eye on is from this 1-hour higher low, and obviously this 1-hour higher high. So this aligns perfectly with the US dollar. And this would be my 1-hour demand area in which I want to see the market come back into. I want to see the market come back into this 1-hour demand area. And pretty simple, go and take out that new high. So if you look, we have obviously this wick and this wick pretty close, which I would be using as liquidity. This high to this high here as our liquidity. So can we see, retracement and then that bounce from this demand area to go and carry on upwards? That is what I would like to see. And of course, understand if we do take out that, we could take out the low of this as well and then get that bounce. But again, let's see what is going on with GPUSD going into today. AUD/USD, these are so ugly. AUD/USD and NZUSD, it does extremely ugly, like if I'm honest. If we look at the 4 hour range, for instance, on the daily, we've got, this is our 4 hour higher low, this is our 4 hour higher high. You can see that this is just retraced into this level of 4 hour, daily demand. You can see that this is our daily demand candle. We had this institutional candle, left some imbalance, markets come back in, tapped in, filled in the imbalance, and now it's obviously left. So looking at the 4 hour, what can we see? Well, looking at the 4 hour, we can see the range a bit more clearer. We can see the range a little bit more clearer. 1 second, let me just make this a bit more cleaner. You can see the range a little bit more clearer here. Now, where would I expect the market to come into? Could this be early inducement, which basically means could this be early buyers trying to trick people that it's going to carry on? And if we do get a retracement, could we see into, level here, like this 4 hour demand candle here? This would probably be where I'd like to see the market retrace back into to then carry on upwards. So, if this is a fake out, could we use this as liquidity to retrace, fill in the rest of this imbalance here, and then use that to be our next leg to carry on and break this high? That's what I'd be looking at. Of course, going into AUD/USD, very, very simple. Now, again, that is from a 4 hour perspective. If I look at the 1 hour, does it tell me anything different? Does it tell me anything different? Well, yeah, the 1 hour is saying that obviously this is a new range from this low to this high. And if he was to carry on upwards from here and we don't get a retracement, we would simply just be looking at a retracement into this 1 hour demand. This 1 hour demand into this and then just carrying on upwards from a 1 hour perspective. Why? Because obviously this is my 1 hour higher high. This is my 1 hour higher high, and this is my 1 hour higher low. And as you guys can probably already notice, we are pretty clean here. You can see that the market is just trending pretty clean. So, if we was to carry on upwards, this is the demand area which we're currently in right now, which I'd expect. If we are going to obviously expect the market to retrace, then of course, what we need to do is we need to look at what the dollar is doing. And we need to understand that if the dollar is going to retrace into here, is AU, for instance, is it aligned in this area with AU? It might even just, let's say the dollar does move away from that demand area, it might just come deeper into that retracement or even take that low and then move higher. But of course, that depends on what the dollar does from this supply area. So pretty simple. We have a 4 hour, if we break this low, and we have our 1 hour currently as we speak. NZUSD. NZUSD, let's have a look at the daily. As you can see, very, very bullish. Going into the 4 hour, which looks a lot more cleaner, even though it hasn't been clean as I'd like. You can see that the market has basically given us another 4 hour break. Now, let me just mark this out. This is another 4 hour change of trend, but only if this candle finishes above in the next 45 minutes. So this will be a 4 hour break of structure again if this candle does finish above this. But if you look at this area that we've got, one thing that's sticking out to me currently is this area here, this 4 hour demand. So again, same scenario as AUD/USD. If we was gonna see a deep retracement into this, it would be to take out this low. So to take out this low here, take out these early buyers, fill in the rest of this imbalance, and then obviously take out the high here. That's what I would want to see from a 4 hour perspective. Now, of course, what we've got to understand is, let's say that this candle finishes here, we most likely got a 1 hour range going on, which as you guys can see now, you can see that 1 hour range. Let me just mark this out, make it a little bit more cleaner. You can see that we have, of course, this 1 hour higher low. And then, of course, this 1 hour higher high. Now, again, what I want you guys to understand is this is looking pretty clean from a 1 hour. You know, if you look, we had a dip, we had an impulsiveness, we had another dip, and then we've had impulsiveness. Where am I going to expect the market to come into? Well, it would be this candle here, which would be a 1 hour demand. We have this imbalance as well. So if it was to dip, because let me just look at the lower time frames, everything is looking balanced in this leg. So my next zone personally for me would be this 1 hour demand, which I'll be looking for longs out of to go higher. That's what I've been looking for. Of course, it could go deeper into retracement or it could just take out the low here because we do have a tiny bit of imbalance in this area here. So again, this demand area is where I'm looking for. We're going to dip below or we'll do this and then obviously take out the high. But again, let's make sure that aligns with what the dollar is doing. USD CAD, what is going on with USD CAD? Daily time frame, extremely bearish. As you guys can see, we had this, beauty of a candle yesterday. Now, can we expect a little retracement or not? Maybe, maybe not. But let's see what is going on with this. Let's make sure that it looks a bit cleaner. So bearish on the daily time frame. And then looking at the 4 hour, same again, extremely bearish. Now, we have some imbalance above here. And we have a supply candle on a 4 hour, which, could be seen as something that we would trace to if the dollar is going to obviously carry on bullish. So what I mean by that is, so let's say the dollar wants a deeper retracement into this 4 hour supply zone here and to fill in this imbalance, then of course we can expect the same to happen here. Come into this, let's just make this red, it's a bit easier. Come into this level here, into this imbalance, potentially into the supply, and then go and create that new leg. So from a 4 hour, that's what we can obviously keep an eye on. But what is it doing on the, let me just make this, what is it doing on the 1 hour? Remember, we always have to, there's always a trend within inside of a trend. We always have to go off what is going on multiple different time frames. So if we look at the 1 hour, what can we see happening? Let me just, bit of a weirdo when it comes to charts looking clean. What is going on with the 1 hour? Well, you can see that the trend that's happening, you can see that we've obviously melted away. We had a pullback, melted away here. We've had a pullback, and now we're currently sat here. So if we look at this right now, sorry guys, my voice is going. You can see that this is our lower high, and then this is my lower low from a 1 hour perspective. Now, of course, this is where we have broken that last 1 hour lower low. Easy to understand. 1 hour lower lows there. So of course, if you look at this leg here, pretty rebalanced. Where are we reacting from? Well, we're reacting from pretty much this level of supply here. It may be a little bit more cleaner if we half the time frame down or went to the 15-minute. Maybe, maybe not. Not as clear, no, but you can see that's where we're reacting from on this 1 hour time frame. If you look at the 15-minute, everything is rebalanced. Everything is pretty rebalanced on here. So I want you guys to understand that this is where the market is reacting from now. Again, we are still expecting some sort of bullishness into this supply area for the dollar. But if you look at this, it is rebalanced itself perfectly. This 1 hour supply, it was mitigated. 1 second. So, I'm expecting the market to just, carry on selling from this area, which it's currently doing as we speak. As we speak, it's currently selling from this area. Of course, if the dollar's going to be a bit bullish, then what we can potentially expect is this just keep punching above and then eventually fall away from here. So let's keep an eye out on this area as well and see what happens with USD CAD. Now, USD CHF daily, extremely bearish. We've still not had a pullback into this, but that's not something we have to worry about right now. But looking at the 4 hour, you can see that the trend is pretty clear. Pretty easy to understand that, we have this 4 hour, range that is going on. And we're currently sat here as we speak. So let's just get rid of this and let's focus on the trend right now. So, for me personally, I'm looking at the market from a 4 hour to retrace into this level of supply. Let's just zoom in. This level of supply, we also have all of this imbalance below here. So we have all of this imbalance below here as well. So, from a 4 hour, eventually, would I like to see this happen? Yes, I would. But as of right now, we don't need to worry about this currently. But as you guys can see, let's just draw out this 4 hour range from, let's do it from here. Make that black. And then obviously the low, which we're currently at. Now, looking at the 1 hour, what is currently going on? Let's move this out of the way. Looking at the 1 hour, we are just melting. We are simply just melting. We've not had much of a, pullback. You can see we had a little mini pullback here. And now we're just literally melting away. So for me personally, my new 1 hour range is from this lower high to this lower low currently. Where do I want to see the market come into? I would like to see the market come into this level of supply here. This will be my 1 hour supply. And again, it does align with the dollar. Could we get a punch into this and then see that next move happen? Again, it could be from, filling in the imbalance. It could be from mitigating the full box, or we could even take out a high. So just be patient and wait to see what the dollar does in this area. That's what I've been doing personally. But, from a 1 hour perspective, this is my next supply. Of course, as you guys should already know from plugging in, if we break the high, we can expect the market to come into this. But we don't worry about that as of right now. This is our supply area, which we are keeping an eye on. USD Japanese yen. Let's see what's going on for a daily. Extremely bearish. We are getting that movement away from this daily supply, which we've talked about for some time. Now looking at the 4 hour, what can we see? Well, you can see that the 4 hour, pretty easy to understand. Now we're melting away. So, for me personally, my 4 hour range is from this level of lower high and this current lower low here. So that is my 4 hour range. Now, as you guys can see, we do have like slight imbalances above this area. So if you look at, I'll zoom in a little bit, this is a 4 hour imbalance. So if he was to retrace from a 4 hour, could we see this imbalance and this 4 hour supply area met? So let's say it was to get a deeper retracement in the 4 for this imbalance and then obviously go. That would be from the 4 hour perspective. But what's going on currently right now from a 1 hour? Well, from a 1 hour, what we can currently see is we've got a new range. And that new range is from this lower high and this lower low. So this is my area that I'm keeping an eye on as we speak. Because of course, if you look at where we're at, where do we want to see the market retrace to? Well, we need to see this imbalance filled. Everything else looks pretty much rebalanced. So it would most likely be this 1 hour supply area here. Let me just look at the lower time frames and see. We do have some imbalance above. So if we was to punch above, that would be fine because we have this 30-minute, 15-minute. Let's just drop to the 15. And that 15-minute is a supply valid. And we also do have this imbalance. So remember, look, this is what I'm trying to say to you guys here. Let's make this red. Two scenarios. From a 1 hour perspective, it looks okay. It looks pretty clean. So one perspective would be, can we see the market retrace into this and then bounce away? Second scenario would be, because we have some highs here, could the market use that as liquidity and use this supply as a fake out to punch above, fill in this imbalance, and then obviously have the move away? So that's what I'm going to be keeping an eye on from USD Japanese yen, is this supply and obviously the imbalance with this supply above. So let's see what happens. But again, we are melting away from there. Dollar's still melting away as well. And obviously this is still in control. So we just got to see what happens going into the rest of today. We've now met this demand area from the AUD USD as well. But yeah, that is pretty much it from me today. Let's keep an eye on for the rest. It is early, so I do believe that, let's say, the dollar, for instance, we could just get this, creating some sort of liquidity, having a fake out, and then going into New York, we have a bounce to fill in this imbalance, tap into the supply, and then move away. So, be prepared, obviously, for that. But other than that, guys, as always, I appreciate every single person that's plugging in. Let's stay connected via my socials. And anything you need, guys, put a comment below. If you enjoy these, put a comment below as well. If you learned something new today or you've learned something in general from myself, let me know in the comment section as well. But yeah, if you get results from, your own trades, meaning from my analysis, educational analysis, feel free to obviously drop me a message with a screenshot on my Instagram. Again, go to my bio at Coach by Chambers on Instagram, and feel free to share them wins with me, because there's quite a few of you guys who do still, you do message me and you show me that you're having breakthroughs and you show me that you're having wins, and that would help me massively, because I want to be able to become, a really good success on YouTube, to share this knowledge and this educational knowledge that I have with other people and reach more people around the world. So other than that, guys, I appreciate you all as always. Take care and God bless.